This is Brian. How can I help you?
Hello, sir. This is Tyler over at Carly Suspension giving you a call back.
Yeah, thank you. I've already spoken with one of your representatives actually earlier this morning.
Perfect. Okay, cool. Right on. So you're all good to go?
I am. Just one of my other questions I forgot to ask him. So I ordered more Carly items for the front leveling suspension kit, the Backcountry shop.
Okay, the Backcountry. What truck is this on, by the way?
It's on a 2017 Ford F350. Platinum.
17 F350 diesel?
Diesel.
Okay.
And so I ordered the Backcountry shocks. I did the front sway bar with the stainless steel end links.
Okay, cool.
The torsion.
Yeah, the torsion
track
sway bar.
Sorry, track bar.
Okay.
And then the Carlisle 2.5-inch leveling springs to go with the Fox shocks.
Okay, perfect. And the Backcountry is the Foxes with the reservoirs. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct, front and rear.
Mm-hmm.
And then I ordered the brake lines, the extended brake lines.
Uh-huh. Yeah, so I imagine you went with like the leveling height Backcountry?
That is correct.
2.5? Okay, cool.
So yeah, 2.5, and then I did the I did the suspension bump stops for the front.
Yeah, the front bump stop drops.
Yes, I ordered that as well. And then my other question, so the truck currently already has a leveling kit on it already.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a spacer.
Okay.
And it's got dual steering stabilizer shocks on the front.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're Icon.
Mm-hmm.
Can I still keep those dual steering stabilizers on the front?
As long as they don't contact anything as it's cycling, they should be free and clear because they sit in front of the tie rod there. So they should have plenty of clearance on everything. But that I think would be the only issue as far as anything cycling and contacting those. But I doubt you would have that issue. One thing about those dual mount stabilizers though, the one that has like the big bracket that comes off the front of the axle that grabs both shocks in the middle and then they kick out to the tie rod ends on both sides. From what we've seen, when we were actually prototyping and looking into making one of those dual mount stabilizers in that kind of style, no matter how strong we made that bracket that hangs off the front of the axle that holds those shocks in the center, no matter how strong it was, since it's such a leverage point off the front axle, we noticed that there was always deflection from side to side in that bracket. So the stabilization you get from those steering stabilizer shocks, you're actually losing part of that in the bracketry. Most people install those things for the looks and how you can kind of see those dual mount stabilizers hanging off the front of the axle. They look pretty cool. But frankly, the way that we do it here to where we solid mount the high mount in the factory location and we mount the lower off of the tie rod and our differential guard, that's going to be a much stronger way to mount those shocks so that you get as much stabilization as possible, but you also get opposing stabilization. So that's why we went with our style, and we'd recommend it for, especially if you're going to go with like 37-inch tires on the truck. But by all means,
running 35.
Okay, right on. So sounds good. But yeah, by all means, you would totally be able to just keep your stabilizers now and at least run them. And if you feel the need for some further stabilization, you could always just buy our high mount stabilizer to replace the factory one, and then leave those things on there.
Okay, I can buy your low mount stabilizer too, right?
So the low mount would only be if you're going to eliminate that dual mount stabilizer kit that you have currently, because they would probably
I would get rid of that. Right, I would get rid of that and buy your high mount and low mount.
Yep.
Is that correct? That would work together.
You got it. Yep. Yeah, the high mount pushes to the high mount pushes to the left, and the low mount pushes to the right.
Okay, that makes sense. And then one other question I forgot to ask.
Mm-hmm.
So the other item I did not get is the Carlisle front radius arms.
Okay, yeah.
Is that going to make a big difference in ride quality?
Not a huge difference in ride quality, no. The main place that those are going to help you out is going to be on your steering and the natural ability to track straight down the road and snap back to center after you turn the steering wheel. We have anywhere from 1 to 4 degrees of caster built into our arms. And the more caster you have in the truck, the more naturally it's going to snap back to center when you turn the steering wheel and track straight. So that will help for the drivability of the truck. Also, those radius arms that we sell have a spherical Johnny joint at the frame pivot, so they're going to cycle smoother than the rubber vulcanized bushing that you have in a factory arm. It's just less friction overall. But in the ride quality department, you don't really see that huge of an improvement. Like, for instance, the torsion sway bar is going to provide a night and day difference in ride quality, where the radius arms are minor in the ride quality department, more so effective in the drivability department, and then also they look bitchin', and that's why most people end up getting them, kind of finishes off the look of the system.
That makes sense. And then my last question is, which I forgot to ask, will I still have the slight factory rake in the rear by chance? Just, I'm asking the question because I pull anywhere from 12 to 14,000 pounds to go fast. So there's a lot of tongue weight there on the hitch.
So if you don't touch the rear at all, is this a 3 or a 250?
This is a 350.
Right on. So if you don't touch the rear at all, you'll probably have a very slight rake, about a half inch to an inch. You could also always take the 3-inch block that the truck comes with and swap out for a 4-inch block. That would get you about, in the 2-inch or so range of rake, so that you have a little bit more wiggle room if you're going to be hauling heavy.
Okay, that makes sense. And then the other option would be to replace the whole rear springs, right?
Correct, but that would reduce the overall capacity and cause the need for airbags or like Timbren helper springs or something of the sort.
Right, so you just counter it with airbags and
airbag
setup that you guys sell.
Yep. I'd probably, if I was you though, and you're going to be hauling heavy, I'd probably just start with the factory springs and a 4-inch block back there. I think it's PMF, like Papa Mike Foxtrot, PMF.
Okay.
I believe they make the 4-inch block that works, and it still has like a factory-style tang on the side so the bump stop can strike it.
Okay. All right. That makes sense.
Yeah.
And then air pressure-wise, in the 35-inch AT3 tires, I have 20-inch wheels. Should I just, and it's not F-load, it's the load rating.
Okay.
The E, yeah.
You'll probably be in the range of about 40 to 45 PSI front and about 35 to 40 PSI rear when you're unloaded, and then you'll obviously ramp the rears up when you do tow. But overall, if you wanted to dial it in, to the T, what you could do is check the load rating chart on Toyo's website for those tires, which I think I might even have up on my screen right now. Let me see.
35-inch AT3s.
So these are either the mud terrain.
They're 12.8-inch wide are the tires, E-load for 20-inch wheel.
Oh, so I have the mud terrain inflation table. But just to kind of give you some feedback, so Toyo on their website, they'll post all of their what they call application of load inflation tables. That tells you exactly what PSI should be in the tires given the weight sitting over them. So for instance, the Toyo mud terrains, a 35 by 12.5 R20. Let's see here. So the factory weight of that truck up front is in the 5,000 pound range or so. So splitting that in half, going to 2,500 pounds. So the front tires, this is recommending 45 PSI. And then the rear is going to be lighter, probably in the 3,000 or so pound range. And that would only be about 30 PSI they recommend. So,
okay.
Yeah, you can always dial it in that way. What's that?
What load rating is that chart?
That is an E.
E, okay.
So it's their LT tire.
That makes sense. It's so weird because when I air down that low, it appears as if there's a side bulge.
And your tires in particular may need a little bit more pressure overall, just because they are an all-terrain. Like I said, this is the mud terrain chart. So this is going to be a little bit different in application. But if you go on Toyo's website and you find the AT3 load rating chart, which you should be able to do even just through Google, it'll be on Toyo Tires' website. And then you can, dial it in from there. Or just put it at about, like I said, 40 to 45 front and 35 to 40 rear, and that'll be just fine.
Okay, that's perfect. Well, I appreciate your help with everything and answering all my questions.
Yeah, right on, dude. And, if anything else comes up, you know where to get us. Feel free to reach out here anytime, and we're more than happy to talk through it with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you have a great day. Thank you again.
Thanks a lot, sir. You too.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.